All right, getting into chapter 2. Most of you have already, or a lot of you, as long as you've been learning to show your work, are actually in good position. The hardest chapter of the quarter, actually semester, probably was chapter 1. So as long as you do your best to make sure you keep up, I think this will be actually be a easy quiz next week, and an easy test coming up the week after that. This chapter focuses on a process called the distributive property. We're going to officially look at it and how it works, considering the common sense approach, because that's the best way to learn things. Imagine you see the following setup. Joe with parentheses around James plus Nick. In this setup, the people inside the parentheses are friends. So we're going to imagine that anything inside the parentheses knows each other, or that they're acquainted. So James and Nick are on the inside. James and Nick know each other. The person outside the parentheses is introducing himself or herself to them, and when we see that setup, that's pretty much what it is. So again, James and Nick are on the inside, they're friends. Joe is on the outside, and Joe wants to meet them both. So typically what happens whenever you see someone and they introduce themselves to both people. So what happens is Joe meets James, which is, this is how we'll write it, parentheses Joe, parentheses James, plus, which means and, Joe meets Nick. And that's that. That's all you have to do. So our answer is just telling us that Joe meets James. So they're right next to each other. That's how they're connected. And, which again is your plus, Joe meets Nick. So Joe would meet James. Joe would meet Nick. Why would James not meet Nick? Because James and Nick already know each other. So that's, again, the common sense part of what we're looking at. So looking at what we're talking about here, again, this again means Joe meets James and Joe meets Nick. Just make sure you've got that down. So let's look at a couple more real quick just to make sure we've got it. So what we're looking at here is, in this situation, Ben and Mike are friends. And so I would draw a line to say that Pat meets Ben and Pat meets Mike. That's it. If I was looking at this one with Val meeting Kim and Gina, again, Kim and Gina are friends. Val wants to meet them, so I would put that Val meets Kim and Val meets Gina. And that's all, okay? So our lesson today is going to follow that common sense approach, that same logic. The first step will help you set up your final answer. After that, we'll learn how to simplify our final answer, which isn't that bad. So take a second to watch this. And again, if you have any issues with it, make sure you ask questions or send an email, whatever it might be. So here, we're actually dealing with numbers. In this case, X and 5 are friends. That's why we want to kind of get used to it. And 3 wants to meet them. So we will write 3 in parentheses, X in parentheses, and 3 in parentheses meeting 5. So 3 meets X and 3 meets 5. Whenever you have a number times a variable, we're just going to push them together, making this 3x. And we obviously know that 3 times 5 is 15. What you're going to learn is that you cannot put a x term, this is a term and that's a term, you cannot put a x term together with a regular number term, which is called a constant. And so therefore, this is as far as you can go. Do not write this as 18x. It stays as 3x plus 15. 3x can't be put together with 15 because they're two different types of numbers. That's as far as you can go. Here you have 9 parentheses x plus 3. In this situation, x and 3 are friends. 9 meets x and 9 meets 3. So in this case, 9x, because remember, a number times a variable just gets put together. 9 times 3 is 27. And remember, that's as far as you can go. Do not make that anything else. Don't go any further than that, because that's going to throw off everything that you're doing. All right. Try this problem out. In other words, pause the video, work it out, and see how you do. Remember, again, it should be an x term and a constant term that you do not put together. If you haven't paused the video already, go ahead and do that now, because I'm about to answer it. In this problem, x and 7 are friends. 2 meets x and 2 meets 7. From there, 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 7 is 14. And that's as far as you can go. All right. The key to learning this is in showing the meetings. So after you get used to the process, you'll learn that it's not necessary to show them, but for now, show them, because it's probably going to be points on your quiz and you don't want to miss out on that stuff. So try one more real quick before we move on to the end of this thing, and you try class practice or whatever it might be. Again, go ahead and pause the video and see how you do. Moving now. Here, x and 4 friends, so 3 is going to meet x, and 3 is going to meet 4. 3 times x makes 3x. 3 times 4 makes 12. That's as far as we can go. All right. So today's work starts with the material from today's lesson. Be sure to focus on the distributive property problems first. It also has material from last chapter on the sheet. The reason for this is to help you with your memory. Remember, I don't know if you heard me say, but there are 3 steps to learning. There is learn, forget, and relearn. And as long as we keep making you look at some of the old stuff, you get a chance to forget it and relearn it until after a while you don't forget it anymore. So if you review a concept enough, you're less likely to forget how to do it. Again, please work for the time given so you can get the most out of your classwork. If anything, while you're in class, try your best to finish the worksheet so that when we go over it, you can actually check yourself. Outside of that, good luck, and I'll talk to you later.